Buenas noches, bienvenidos a todas las personas que están en línea con Colfuturo y con la Universidad de Melbourne. Pues es un placer tenerlos por acá y que conozcan un poco cuál es la oferta de la Universidad de Melbourne, que es una de las universidades más prestigiosas del mundo en diversos temas y de hecho en Australia es una de las mejor posicionadas desde arquitectura hasta derecho, negocios, humanidades, sociales, etcétera. Para las personas que están pensando postularse este año a Colfuturo, les recuerdo que está abierta la convocatoria del programa Crédito Beca y algo muy importante es que no es necesario estar admitido a la universidad, por lo cual pueden postularse únicamente habiendo aplicado a la universidad o habiendo entrado en contacto y demostrando que tiene un interés en un programa específico de esa universidad. No siendo más, le quiero dar la bienvenida a la persona que nos va a acompañar hoy, que es Kimberly Nance de la Universidad de Melbourne. Kim, welcome to Colfuturo. We always have you. It's like many presentations here in Colombia. So welcome again. And well, we have many people wanting to know a little bit more about the University of Melbourne. And sometimes some of them are going to apply this year for Colfuturo and for the University of Melbourne. So please tell us everything, the wonderful things about the University of Melbourne.
Great. Thank you, Hugo and Colfuturo. I'm always very happy to do these presentations and I thank you for always welcoming the University of Melbourne. So thank you for that welcome. Hi, everyone. As Hugo said, my name is Kimberly. I am the Regional Manager for Latin America at the University of Melbourne. So what that means is my role is to help prospective students or future students such as yourself find out more about the university with regards to the programs we offer, the entry requirements and the admissions process, and also want to share a bit about other parts of living in Melbourne, so accommodation, the city of Melbourne. So the point of the presentation is really by the end, hopefully you have a better idea of what it might be like to be a student at the University of Melbourne and the steps that you need to take to get there. So thank you. Welcome to you all. I know it's evening time in Colombia there. It's actually morning time here. So it's about 10 a.m. on Thursday morning in Melbourne. So we're a little bit ahead here. And it's nice and hot at the moment in Melbourne, actually. It's going to be about 36 degrees Celsius today and up to about 40 degrees tomorrow. So we're having a pretty hot summer at the moment. So today, just wanting to quickly go through what we will cover. So I'll start off by sharing a little bit more about the lovely city of Melbourne, which some of you may have heard about, but just to give you a bit more detail about the culture, because when you are thinking about where to study overseas, it's obviously important to think about the program you want to do and the institution that it's at. But it's also important to think about the city that you will live in because you will spend a lot of time, potentially, one to 3 or 4 years there. So it will be your day-to-day life. So it's good to know a bit about the city itself. And then we'll go in more detail about the University of Melbourne programs and the admissions process, funding options, so scholarships through the university, and obviously our relationship with Colfuturo, and then talk a little bit about living options and the student experience. And then Hugo will help facilitate questions at the end. So please do prepare some questions. That's part of why I'm here, is to answer questions you may have. And if I can't answer them today, I'll definitely be able to follow up and get an answer for you later on. So we might just play a quick video now. Hugo, if you wouldn't mind playing that, and then we'll get started on the presentation.
Okay, we are ready with the video. Well, we are ready with the video.
Great. Thank you, Hugo. So hopefully you could see the video there just to show you a quick kind of snapshot of parts of the city of Melbourne and then our campus at the University of Melbourne. So there's lots to see and do in Melbourne, and that just to give you an idea, a bit of a taster about what it might look like to be living and to be studying in Melbourne. So Melbourne is consistently ranked in the world's most livable cities year after year, and this is because we offer a safe, friendly and really fun environment, and there are many opportunities for people to live comfortably and succeed in their chosen passions in Melbourne. We welcome people from all different cultures, and many of our residents in Australia are actually born overseas. It's a very multicultural city in Melbourne, so we have citizens from over 200 countries, and you'll really see this when you're walking around, different types of people, but also the different types of cuisines and restaurants we have, the different cultural festivals we have all year round, and we really celebrate all different cultures. And it really becomes kind of what they call a melting pot of various cultures from around the world, which I think is a really exciting kind of city and place to be a part of. We are known worldwide as a hub for culture, music, arts and sports. And we also have a really great public transport network in Melbourne. So we are facilitated by trains, trams, which are like streetcars, and buses that will get you around the city centre and also the outer suburbs of Melbourne, and makes it very accessible to get to the University of Melbourne campus as well. So Melbourne is really famous for its lively cafe and coffee culture. And I know I'm speaking to Colombians, so I know coffee is very much a part of your country, and we often import beans and coffee to serve here in Australia from Colombia and Latin America. So we actually have the highest number of cafes and restaurants per capita of any city in the world in Melbourne. And just on our University of Melbourne campus alone, there are about 33 places that you can get a cup of coffee. So you can imagine how many cafes there are in the entire city of Melbourne. It's a very popular activity in Melbourne is going out for breakfast or brunch with your friends or family on the weekend. And it's okay if you don't drink coffee. There's also lots of types of tea and hot chocolate and other drinks available. As a student in Melbourne, you will spend time in cafes catching up with friends outside of class, but also with classmates, maybe working on a group project. I myself, as a professional, have meetings in cafes, so it's very much embedded into our culture and our lifestyle. And you won't see many chain cafes like Starbucks or anything. It's really more independently run cafes that all have their own character and feeling, which makes it, exciting to try new places out. One of my personal favourite things to do in Melbourne is to go see live music. So we have performances every night of the week, ranging from big rock star performances at large arenas to smaller, more intimate gigs. And there is something for everyone, no matter what your music taste is or the budget. Melbourne is also very passionate about our sport. So whether you want to play and participate or spectate, there are a variety of options for you. So currently right now we're getting towards the end of the Australian Tennis Open, which is a really big time in Melbourne. It's summer. We get lots of international tourists that visit Melbourne for the tennis, and lots of Melburnians, which is what we call ourselves, really get involved into going to watch the tennis. There's lots of kind of festival activities around it, and we're very passionate about that. So all in all, there is something for everyone in Melbourne, and it's definitely a city that people fall in love with. So the weather is something that will very much be a part of your student experience, so it's important that you know what to expect and prepare best you can. Now, Melbourne is located towards the southern end of Australia, so we do have a slightly cooler climate than other parts of Australia, such as Queensland or New South Wales. So in December through to February, which is now, we have our summer, and the average temperature is around 26 degrees. But as I said, at the moment, it's quite a bit hotter than that, and we're in our mid to high 30s. It is a dry heat, so we don't have that kind of humidity. And then our winter runs from June through to August, and the average temperature is about 13 degrees Celsius, which is not too cold. I know from speaking to other Colombian students, those that come from, say, Bogota, don't find the weather too dissimilar to their home city. Those that come from more of the coastal towns in Colombia or the warmer climates might find the winter a little bit cooler. So we just recommend that you have appropriate clothing and pack well. The main thing to know about Melbourne is that the weather can be a little bit unpredictable. We are often referred to as having 4 seasons in one day. So sometimes it can be sunny, and then 30 minutes or an hour later it can be raining heavily out of nowhere. That type of extreme change does not happen every day, but it does happen. So people in Melbourne often wear layers, carry a jacket with them, maybe carry an umbrella. So it definitely does keep things exciting. In Melbourne, we do have beaches quite close by, like a bay beach, and then within an hour's drive you have access to some really great surf beaches along the Victorian coast. And in the winter months, if you want to get into skiing or snowboarding, we have access to mountains about 2 to 3 hours drive. So there's also a lot you can do in the state of Victoria, which is surrounding Melbourne. So I just wanted to give you an idea of where our university campus is in relation to the city centre. So as you can see on this slide, we have our Parkville campus, which is our main University of Melbourne campus. Majority of our students will be studying at this campus. We do have some smaller campuses in other areas that are more for specialised program students, such as veterinary medicine and horticulture and that kind of thing. So most students will have their classes on the Parkville campus. So it covers quite a large area of space, obviously to cater for all of our students and for our facilities. And then you can see towards the top of the slide is our Melbourne City Centre, or what we call the Melbourne CBD, the Central Business District. So you can see that our campus is very much in the city and very close to that city centre. So as a University of Melbourne student, you're very much part of the City of Melbourne culture, and it means it's really accessible to get to our campus, whether you choose to live really close to campus and walk there, or you might live in some neighbourhoods a bit further out and catch public transport in. It's very easy for you to access our campus no matter where you live. You'll then see on the top left of the slide is what we call our South Bank University of Melbourne campus. So this is for students that are studying in the music, performing and visual arts only, and they are located in a campus that is right in our arts precinct in the city, so that they're kind of in amongst that industry. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview of where our campus is in relation to the city. Okay, so now to talk a little bit about the University of Melbourne's reputation and rankings around the world. So we are a top-ranked university, so number 1 in Australia, number 32 in the world at the moment. So these rankings are a real testament to the quality that we have at the university, both the quality of our teachers, our facilities, and our students. And it really means a degree from the University of Melbourne will be well recognised, not just in Australia, but also around the world, wherever you do end up working. These rankings also mean that we attract a really high quality of student, and they will be your classmates, your peers, and they will become your network. So you will also learn a lot from your classmates, not just your teachers, especially as a master's student, and it will open up opportunities for you once you graduate as well, to kind of have that wider, strong and high caliber network. The university is also ranked 6th in the world for graduate employability, which means that employers know the University of Melbourne graduates are equipped to tackle today and future problems in our world, and they really value the graduates that we produce. We produce graduates that are really strong in critical thinking, can problem solve, can take initiative, and can work well in teams and across different functions and industries. So that also puts you in a good position when you do start going for new jobs, in terms of having that well-recognised degree from a really reputable institution. You can drill down into quite a lot of level with the rankings. So the university ranks very well, both in Australia and worldwide in a range of disciplines. So there's some just listed up on this slide. You can get into a bit more detail on the QS World University Rankings website. So you might want to find out a bit more about your specific discipline. I know, obviously, those watching today are either applying to Col Futuro this year or possibly in the future, and they do take into account the quality and rankings in certain programs. And the University of Melbourne does rank very highly in the majority of our programs on offer, and that is why we are quite successful in terms of the numbers of students that come through Col Futuro to us. So you can get a little bit more detail on the rankings website for that, and also on our own university website. So the university has a long and proud history. So we were established back in 1853. We hold over 100 research centres and institutes, which really shows, our connection to the community and to research, and about really trying to, I guess, change the world and make it for better. And that kind of, those institutes and centres really do become part of our teaching and student experience as well. We actually have just over 60,000 students studying at the University of Melbourne. Of that 60,000, it is quite split. So 50% are undergraduate, bachelor degree students, and 50% are postgraduate, so master's degree students, which is a good split. And you'll find many universities are typically much more undergraduate focused, but because of the way we offer our curriculum, we have that nice split between postgraduate and undergraduate, which makes a really nice student community. Of our students, about 30% are international students, and they are from over 130 different countries. So, as I was saying before, the City of Melbourne is very multicultural, and our campus represents that as well. And we have a very diverse student population here. So we have students from Asia, obviously because of the proximity of Australia to Asia, from Latin America, Europe, the UK, North America, and so on. So it's really great for your learning in the classroom, but also a great way to meet new connections and learn about new cultures. And I know, a lot of Colombian students, once they graduate, or even during their studies, you often hear they're going on a holiday to visit a classmate or another alumni in Asia or another part of the world. And it does mean you typically end up having people that you can visit all over the world, and a place to crash if you do go traveling, which is great. So our rankings, as I talked about before, are a real testament about our quality of academics. So we attract world-class academics, researchers, and professors from not only within Australia but all around the world that come to work at the University of Melbourne. And some of them are really, the best in their field, and they do a lot of great research, but also obviously teach our students. So as a student, I guess that opens up a range of opportunities for you in terms of your learning, and really being able to learn from the best, but also potential opportunities to get involved in research at a later date, or even during your master's program. So it makes it quite an exciting place to learn. We also have world-class facilities to support our students in their studies and really ensure they succeed. So we have, computer labs, robotic labs for our engineering students. We have 24-hour study spaces if you need to work late into the night. We have around 11 libraries on campus, and our largest library, the Ballieu, is actually one of the largest libraries in the Southern Hemisphere. So all access to books, online journal articles and materials, so everything you need to really, reach your potential and do your best that you can in your degree. You'll find, especially looking at some of the images on this slide, and when you are a student here, the campus is a real mix of old architecture, so back from when we were first established in the 1800s, so more of that English style, kind of Gothic, sandstone, so it's a bit more kind of, Harry Potter style architecture, and that's mixed in with some really new modern spaces. So the picture on the screen at the moment is from our design school. So that's where students that are doing architecture or urban planning will be studying, and that's actually a studio space hanging in the middle of the building there. So we've got some really amazing kind of new modern facilities, and they're all kind of intertwined with the older buildings, and it's actually a really nice mix and creates a really kind of nice campus experience. So we also, to ensure our students succeed, have a great support services on offer. So we call it Stop One, and this is pretty much your one-stop shop for all questions you have, whether you're a future student or a current student. And it's your first point of contact to go to. So if you need help with changing your subjects, course planning, your timetable, if you have questions around housing, or you need healthcare support or counselling, or if you want to attend workshops to improve your academic writing, or you might want to get help preparing your resume, or networking, getting an internship, those kind of things, go through Stop One. And they will either help you out directly there or put you in touch with the relevant services. And you can access them either in person once you're a student, by phone, email, or live chat. So they're a really great kind of resource. And what we really try and encourage our students is that obviously we have a range of support when if you do get into kind of trouble or crisis and you need that help. But we really encourage you to access the support services all the time during your degree, so not just when you're in crisis, but really to make the most of your studies and kind of, do different activities that are separate from your course that really complement your studies in your program. So now I just want to talk a little bit more about the Melbourne curriculum, so the actual programs that you would be studying. So you may see when you look at our website or maybe our materials, you'll see the term the Melbourne model. So this just really refers to how we offer our curriculum and our programs. So on this slide here, you can see there are different entry and exit points for students that are coming to study at the University of Melbourne. So for the purposes of this presentation, students are really interested in what we have on the slide that's called graduate degrees. So these are what we call our postgraduate degrees, and this would be students coming into masters or above level type programs, masters and so on. And the thinking behind the Melbourne model is really designed to provide our students with flexibility and study that will be relevant to them in today's changing workforce. So we're really trying to equip our students with all the technical knowledge they need to know, but also all the other skills, so the communication skills and problem-solving skills that will make them adaptable in today's kind of changing workforce. So on the slide here, we have all the different areas of study that we offer. So we offer almost all areas across academic and also performing arts disciplines as well. Be sure that you do go on our website, search through to see what programs we have on offer in each of these different areas. So there's a range of different master's programs on offer within each area listed on this slide here. But yeah, we do cover most kind of academic areas that you would be interested in studying. So for Columbia, we have a range of students that go into different programs, but we have had quite a few go through into our Masters of Law, our LLM programs. Students go through to the engineering and IT programs, and then also we've had quite a few go through the architecture, design, urban planning areas, as well as the kind of humanities ones, so development studies, public policy, social policy, that kind of thing as well, but a range of different areas to go through, and then quite a few through our Master of Education programs as well. So at the University of Melbourne, we have over 400 postgraduate degrees that you can choose from. So there is a lot, and you'll see if you look in our course guide, there is a lot to look through. But you can obviously narrow it down knowing what kind of discipline area you are interested in. So the main thing I just wanted to talk about on this slide was the difference between the different types of programs and some of the kind of terminology you may see in our materials. So we have graduate coursework degrees. So these are master's programs, and we'll have, this is where you would do subjects. So you would do coursework, subject style learning. So in these type of programs, we have both professional development degrees on offer and also professional entry degrees. So the difference between those two is professional development degrees are designed for students that have already studied in an area. So they may have done a bachelor or pregrado in a certain area, such as engineering, for example, and they want to get more in-depth knowledge in that area and build on the knowledge they already have. So they may then do a master's of engineering or engineering management. Could be 1 year, could be 2 years. So the idea is that you already have some background knowledge and expertise in that area, and you're building on further to that. Another example is if you already have a teaching degree, you might come into our specialised Master of Education programs, which will give you specialised knowledge in leadership or learning intervention, for example. Now, the professional entry degrees are slightly different in that students going into those are looking for a professional accreditation. So this is if you want to actually be accredited to work in that field and practice in Australia or possibly also other parts of the world. So these are things where you do require that accreditation. So if you want to actually teach in Australia, you would do a Masters of Teaching, which is a professional entry degree. There are other programs if you wanted to go and practice as an architect or an engineer, you would do the professional entry programs of those. So just hopefully that helps kind of differentiate between the two. But when you do apply and put an application in, we can also advise you based upon your background. So when you apply, you would submit your previous academic transcripts and also your CV or resume, and we would make sure that you are going into the correct program. Then we also have research degrees. So these are for students that want to do research as opposed to doing kind of subject course-based learning, coursework-based learning. And there's a few different research options. So a PhD is the kind of most complete and longest option, which is about 3 to 4 years, where you would do a major thesis and research project. And then we also have smaller Masters by Research or Masters of Philosophy programs. So just want to talk a little bit about the entry requirements when we're looking at students applying to graduate degrees. So all the different graduate programs will have different requirements depending on that program and that faculty. So you can get all that information from our website. And typically when we're looking at students applying to master's programs, we will be looking at their grades or their results from their first or their recent study. So if you've done a bachelor degree, we will look at your grade point average or your average of your grades in your degree. If you've done a bachelor and a master's, we'll look at both sets of grades. So for many of our programs, we'll be looking for an equivalent to 65%, which is equivalent to how we grade our students at the University of Melbourne. So we know that you have different grading system in Colombia, and that's okay. We know how to make an equivalency with that, and we can guide you a bit on the requirements you would need. So if you have further questions about that, you're welcome to clarify that with myself if you want to check if you meet the entry requirements. So some of our programs will require a higher percentage, so 70 or 75%, so it does depend on the program. Because we have experience with students coming from Colombia in the past, we do know how to kind of compare the grades you have with what we offer here. And we will look also at the university you have attended. So we will look at the ranking of your institution as well. All of our programs also require that students meet an English language requirement. So if you have done your previous academic study in a language other than English, so if you studied in Colombia, for example, you would need to sit an English language test. And I'll talk about that a bit in a moment. Some programs will also require other things to be added to your application. So you might have to fill out a personal statement, which is just why you want to do the program. Some may require you to sit an additional test, not many, but some do. Some may have an interview, an audition, or a portfolio, for example, for architecture students. And obviously the research degrees will have a research proposal. So those extra requirements are all listed on our website, and you'll also be prompted if you don't submit it when you apply to the program. We'll get in contact to ask you for that information. But for many of our programs, we're purely looking at your academic grades and your English result, and they're the two main requirements that we will assess when you apply. So we do offer comprehensive research programs at the University of Melbourne, and the University of Melbourne is actually the second largest research organisation in Australia, so just second to the CSIRO. So we work on some amazing world-class research here that is really looking at coming up with solutions to challenges not just in Australia but worldwide. And we have a great website called Pursuit, where you can go to read all the amazing research and work that's currently being done, and this can inspire you, for your future studies, or it might just be of interest to see, how the university is impacting the community around us. So for research programs, in terms of admissions, most of our research degrees will require the students to find a supervisor before you actually submit an application. So you'll need to find a supervisor, approach them directly by email with a research proposal, and they have to let you know whether they can support you during your research, or they may be able to recommend another colleague. And then once you have that support, you will then put a full application in with your academic transcripts and so on. There are a couple of faculties that don't require that supervisor first, and they will help you find a supervisor, so education and design. So just make sure you check on the website to see what each faculty or school requires. And the research applications will take quite a bit longer than a master's by coursework application, because you have to typically find the supervisor, and that can take time. If you are interested in research, either now or down the track, we do have a great website called Find an Expert. And this is pretty much where you can go to see what academics we have and what research they're currently working on. So you just search the discipline that you're interested in, and you can also get their contact details and approach them directly through here with your research proposal or question. So that's a great resource as well. So I'll be sending this slide deck to Hugo at Cofuturo, so they can also send this out to you to get access to those links as well. So at Melbourne, and generally I guess in Australia, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the classroom environment that you would expect to experience as a student here. So we're really encouraging of participation in your lectures, which is where you would go to have kind of a larger group of students hear from a professor talk about a certain topic in your program. And then tutorials are the smaller, more classroom style setting, maybe 20 students to discuss the content they've been taught in the lectures. So we're really looking for participation, debate. So our academics and professors love to be challenged on their ideas and their teaching, because, that really encourages critical thinking and analysis. There's a lot of group work in our programs because we find that's a really great way to prepare students for the workforce and for working with different people and different ideas. And so we're really trying to get students to think critically, think outside the box, learn from each other. So obviously having students from all different parts of the world means that students bring in different experiences from their life and from their country's political or environmental situation, and that really adds to the conversations in the classroom. So it really leads to a much more meaningful understanding of what you're actually learning, and much more likely for you to retain it and be able to apply it in a real world setting. So they do also use a lot of case studies and current kind of topics. We get lots of industry people in to give seminars. So we're really making sure that we're relevant, not just in Australia, but also worldwide as well. So I talked a little bit before about our, graduate employability rankings. So, just wanted to kind of summarise in that we don't just focus on the technical, theoretical teaching at Melbourne. So while that is important and we make sure our students have all the technical knowledge that they need, we also place a really large focus on transferable skills that will help our graduates succeed in their careers, regardless of what functional industry they work in, and it will mean that you can really communicate your technical knowledge in a variety of settings. And we're really aiming to give our graduates confidence, really solid communication skills, cross-cultural communication skills, and a lot of kind of support and industry connections and networking abilities as well. So we're really trying to prepare our graduates to be as successful as they can in their careers from day one in their classes. So it's not something that just happens when you're kind of towards the end of your degree. We're really trying to kind of make that part of the teaching and the program. And there's lots of different careers and employability services that we have. There's lots of networking events and ways that you can meet different employers and companies, and that can really add to your experience. There's internship opportunities, either as part of your degree for credit or as separate to your degree for experience. And as a student living in Melbourne on a student visa, you are permitted to work while you study. So you can work up to 20 hours per week and longer in the semester breaks. And that can be a good way to get some work experience as well. So in terms of the application process, so most of our programs have 2 intakes. So in July, which is semester 2, in February, which is semester 1. So we're just about to, in a month or so, we'll start semester 1 for 2019, and then we'll have another intake at the end of July this year. Some programs only have 1 intake a year, so they might only have the semester 1 intake in February. So it's the end of February. So please make sure you do check that online just so you know what your options are. Some of our master's programs obviously vary in length. So some are 1 year, 1.5 or 2 years. So be sure to know what the length and duration is as well. So when you're looking at applying, it's an online application. You submit all your documents uploaded online, and then they'll come to our admissions team. For master's programs, they actually then get sent to the faculties who do the final assessment, and then they'll issue you an outcome or an offer from there. For master's programs, the application assessment turnarounds can take 6 to 8 weeks for you to receive an outcome. So there's a little bit of a wait. As you can imagine, at the University of Melbourne, we receive a really high volume of applications, and we're very thorough in our assessment. So we want to make sure that students have the ability to succeed once they do study here, and that's also good for you to know in terms of the calibre of students that you are studying alongside. There's obviously other things to consider as a separate, I guess, or on top of your application, and that's obviously once you get an offer, you then need to think about your visa, accommodation, and prepare in terms of cost of living and fees. If you are applying through Culturo, we do prioritise sponsored students' applications. So on the application online, there is a section that asks if you're applying for or you have an external scholarship. And so you should tick yes on that, and doesn't mean you actually have to hold the scholarship. It just means you're applying for it, and that means we will prioritise processing that application so that you can receive an outcome sooner, because we know that's important for you to have. And I know that Culturo do a lot of work with their awardees in terms of obviously planning your budget and making sure you're prepared for the costs when you do move to Melbourne. There are other requirements, obviously, if you're looking at those research programs, so just allow time for that as well. You can typically choose to defer your program. So if you get an offer, for example, for semester 2 this year in July, and you decide you want to start next February, you can go online and just apply to defer. It's not automatically granted, but typically most faculties will allow you to defer your start date up to 1 year. from when you were offered the program. The only programs that tend to not be so flexible are those in the performing arts space. So that can be an option based upon your personal situation, or how you go with Ko Futuro application, or even your visa, things like that. So that is an option too. So I spoke before about the English language requirement. So all students coming to the University of Melbourne need to meet the English language requirement, both international and domestically. So for master's students, if you have studied your previous study in a country that, the language of instruction is not English, you will need to do an English language test. So we do accept a range of tests. I've just put the main ones that people do on the slide, but we do accept other ones such as Pearson and Cambridge as well. But the IELTS and the TOEFL tend to be the most commonly accepted, written tests by students. So all of our master's programs actually list on our website their English requirement. Generally for IELTS, they're looking for an overall score of 6.5 with no band less than 6. But some postgraduate programs will require a higher score of 7. These tend to be programs that have a significant more writing in them, so some of our humanities programs and also like PhD research programs. And then you just need to meet the equivalent in the TOEFL test. So you can see the internet test, they have the overall score of 79, and then there's different scores that you need to achieve in each section. To keep in mind, you can actually submit your application without your English language results, and we can issue you a conditional offer first, and then you need to submit your final English test report, and once you meet the English score, we'll administer or send you out an unconditional offer, which is your full offer. So many students apply with all their other documents, and then they sit their English test and send that to us once they've completed it. We do also have an English school affiliated with the University of Melbourne, so they're called Hawthorn Melbourne. So they're located about 20 minutes from the University of Melbourne campus, so not very far, and they offer a range of different English language programs from 10 weeks in length to up to 50 weeks in length, depending on students' needs. We do have a English bridging program, which is called what we call for short UMELP, and that is a 10-week program, and it's designed for students that have just missed out on the English language score requirement. So if you need an IELTS of 6.5 and you receive a 6, you're eligible for this program, and it means you do 10 weeks and then you go straight into your master's program and you don't need to resit an English language test, and we give you a packaged offer with the University of Melbourne and Hawthorn, and it means you can apply for your visa with that. So that is an option if you just fall below the test requirement, and other English programs available, as I said, as well. So we have, the University of Melbourne has a great relationship with Ko Futuro and also Columbia. So we get a range of Colombian students come to study at the university each year. We also have quite a large Colombian community in Melbourne. We find that Colombians and Latin Americans in general tend to settle in quite well to Melbourne and Australia. The lifestyle can be seen as similar to Colombia and Latin America. We work hard and we study hard in Australia, but we also really value time away from work and study, and we put a lot of focus on spending time with family and friends, going out to eat at restaurants, going to festivals, and really kind of getting into our city and surroundings. So we find that Latin American students really settle in well to living here, and we on average, I guess, have about 50 students, Colombian students each year. So it's not a huge amount compared to the rest of our campus, but we have a lot of other Latin American students from other parts of Latin America as well. And our academics love having students from Colombia because they really get involved and are really engaged in the program. Many of our Colombian students also do kind of separate work to their program, such as research assistants, or they might become a tutor to younger year students to kind of share their knowledge as well. We do have a long-standing agreement with Kofulturo, which is where we do provide discounts to students that come to study at the University of Melbourne and have a Kofulturo loan scholarship. So the discount overall is 10% on the majority of our programs. So it'll be a 10% discount on your tuition fees, and that will be shown on your student invoice each semester. And the discount is applied for the duration that you have your Kofulturo loan. Then for some of our other faculties, we have a higher discount. So if you're a design student, so doing things like architecture, urban planning, and so on, it's a 15% discount. If you're in a humanities program, such as development studies, public policy, it's a 15% discount. And then if you're in an education program at the moment, it's a 25% discount, which is quite significant. So that can really help, obviously, with regards to reducing the amount you have to loan and reducing your expenses. We also have some other agreements with other bodies in Colombia as well. Many students also, they either come alone or they do bring their families as well. And so we have some support services if you do need to bring a partner or a child as well and set up schooling and so on. So in continuing the conversation about funding, so with regards to scholarships and the University of Melbourne scholarships, so we do have some scholarships at the University of Melbourne. All students are automatically considered when they apply, and it is based upon your academic grades. So you don't need to submit a separate application. We consider everyone automatically. We assume everyone would like a scholarship, so we don't require that separate application. And it is based upon academic grades. The scholarships will vary. Many of them are discounts, so 25% discount or 50% discount on your fees. And some are one-off payments of $10,000 Australian, for example. So these kind of scholarships you can get if you do have a Kofulturo scholarship or loan or another scholarship as well. Some of our faculties do have specific scholarships for Latin American students. So for example, our School of Design has scholarships, so they are 50% fee remission scholarships. And they are awarded based upon academic merit. So you compete for other students that apply at the same time as you. I'll add, I forgot to put the link on this slide, but I'll add the link in and send it out so you can get a sense of all the different scholarships available. So that can obviously help support your living expenses and tuition fees while you are a student. The tuition fees will vary depending on the program, so they can vary quite a bit depending on the masters that you do go into. Some of you may have already applied or have heard of the Endeavour Scholarship, which is the Australian Government Scholarship. So this is one that pays, I think it's approximately 30 or 33,000 Australian per year to students. We have had a couple of Latin American students come to the University of Melbourne with this scholarship before, but it is highly competitive, so students from all around the world apply, and they're releasing the outcomes for this year shortly for those. So another thing to consider is living arrangements. So obviously if you do get an offer and you are looking to come to Melbourne, a big consideration is housing, so where you're going to live. So we have a great housing website that provides you kind of listings of different vacancies, gives you tips and advice on different neighbourhoods, so you can get an idea of what it might be like to live there. There's also advice on our laws and regulations in Australia and what your rights are as a tenant, because they will likely vary from your home, from Colombia, from your home country. And it's important that you know this before you kind of sign a lease or an agreement. So students, some students will sign a long-term contract before they arrive in Melbourne. Others will find temporary accommodation first. And then once they get here, they'll look around at different options to see where they want to live, the neighbourhood, and they might meet some other students and move in together. There are a range of different accommodation options. Colleges are what our on-campus accommodation is called. Majority have undergraduate rooms only, but some do have some postgraduate spaces, and that's where you would live on campus and all your meals are provided. Student apartments are those that are walking distance from campus. So can walk across the road. You can either have single rooms or shared. You'll often have shared hangout spaces, but you would obviously cook all your own meals. And then share housing is quite common for students, which is where you would share with either other students or members of the public. And there's a range of different websites that we can direct you to find different vacancies on share housing options. The one thing I will say is that students should have some form of accommodation booked before they arrive in Melbourne. It doesn't need to be a full long-term contract. It could be a 12-month lease, or it could just be a 1-month Airbnb, but something to make sure that you have somewhere to stay when you do get here. We do have a Melbourne accommodation program, which is where you can apply online. One application, and we will place you in a student apartment or a facility that's walking distance from campus. So these are high quality, secure apartments. The guarantee that we have at the moment is only for undergraduate students, but you can still apply as a postgraduate student and they will do their best to place you somewhere. The ease of just having one application makes it a little bit easier. And the university at the moment has been building different facilities and aiming to provide 6,000 student beds near our campus within the next 2 years, because we know it's obviously a great need for students to have accommodation close by to campus. On this slide, we give you an idea of living costs. So there is different, different budgets that you may have, and there's different costs depending on where you choose to live. So something like staying on campus at a college is quite expensive, but obviously they include all your bills and meals. And then the cheapest option would be looking to share accommodation with other people. Obviously, also, if you're living right near campus in our city centre, it will be more expensive. If you're happy to live in a neighbourhood that's, 10 minutes out or 20 minutes out, you will save money on rent, but then you have to factor in public transport costs. But there are some really nice neighbourhoods just, in the surrounding areas of our campus where you could walk to campus. A lot of people also ride their bicycle in Melbourne, or they may catch a short bus to get to campus or train. So a lot of different options, and you can get this information on our website too, but that will definitely help you budget and prepare. We also have some information that we have gotten from the Australian government on just common costs for things that you would typically need or use as a student. So, how much a phone might be, a bicycle, public transport, and, takeaway meals. So Melbourne is definitely not a cheap city. So it is considered, an expensive city to live in, but there are cheaper ways and ways to save your money if you shop at markets for produce. There's lots of free events on. And if you do work while you study, the salary and the earnings and the minimum wage is very high in Melbourne. So I think a really helpful way and a really good way to connect and find out more about the student experience is to talk to either current students or an alumni that has gone through the process and the experience before. So we don't have a student joining us today, but I just wanted to share a little bit about how you can get connected with students. So I am always happy to put you in touch with our alumni or current students. So I'll try and find someone, a Columbian student that has done a program that you're interested in doing. If you want to find out about their experience, they'll give you great advice on accommodation and housing and kind of just what to expect in terms of the university experience and the day-to-day of it. It's obviously a really big decision to move overseas. So as much as you can prepare will help you with that transition. We recently launched a Latin American University of Melbourne alumni network last year. So this is led by David, who's on the slide at the moment. So he is one of our Masters of Law alumni, and he's based and now back working in Bogota at a law firm. And he leads this network, and it's really, they've got a Facebook group, which I'll send out as well. And it's a chance for people that are previous students of the university, so alumni, but also prospective future students to engage with each other. As a future student, you can learn from them, and it's a great way for the alumni to stay connected once they do go back to Columbia or if they go elsewhere. and different opportunities will come out of that network as well. So, and we obviously engage with them when if I go to visit Columbia as well, or if other faculties visit too. So, I do recommend you kind of get engaged that way. And I'm also happy if you want to contact me directly to connect you to someone one-on-one, and most of our students are very happy to speak about their experience, and they enjoy speaking about their University of Melbourne experience. So that's a good way for you to find out more. Just looking ahead, so obviously, as I said, semester 1 for this year is just about to start at the start of March this year. If you're applying through Cultura, you'll be doing that now, and I can help you with any questions you have about your application to the University of Melbourne. Our semester 2 this year will start at the end of July, so the 29th of July, and then you you can also be applying for semester 1 2020, so next year, and that semester starts at the 2nd of March. So a few different options for your intake depending on what suits you and your personal situation, and obviously if you're applying through Cultura as well. So to find out more information, obviously the most up-to-date information is on our website. So we have a website called Study. There you can search through all the programs that we offer, entry requirements, and information on how to apply. We also have lots of information on our social networks, Facebook, and also obviously YouTube if you want to watch some more videos as well. There's my email up on that slide too. If you do want to get in touch with me, feel free to send me an email directly. I'll send the slides out as well, as I said, so you can get it from there. Any questions you have, I'm happy to help. So please don't be shy, and if you do come to study in Melbourne, feel free to get in touch as well, and we can go out for a coffee at one of the many different cafes. So I know that's a lot of information given today, but hopefully it gives you an idea of what it might be like to be a University of Melbourne student, and the different processes and steps that you need to take to apply. And yeah, I hope many of you do apply, and I hope you are successful in your Cultura applications, and that we get to see some of you here at the University of Melbourne in the future. So thank you for listening and for joining us today, and I'll hand back to Hugo now to see if there are any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kimberly. And yes, we have some questions. The first one is, let me see, it's about scholarships. Good evening. What is the average time it takes for the university to make a decision upon an application?
Sure. So just in terms of the application itself, for a master's, it's between 6 to 8 weeks for most of our outcomes. In peak times, it can be longer than that, but if you are, as I said, if you are applying through Cultura, we will prioritise your assessment. So it could only be, 3 to 4 weeks. With regards to scholarships, they do vary. So some of our scholarships you will find out about on your offer letter. So if you've been awarded one, it will be written on your offer letter for your program. But some are awarded later as well, as some of the faculties wait for a few more of their applications to come through. So you might not find out until closer to the semester start for those scholarships. You'll only be notified of a scholarship if you are successful. So that would be the only reason you would hear about a scholarship.
Well, Lisette is asking, I found a 15% off discount with Cultura and Melbourne, but I also found another scholarship directly with the university, 25% to 50% off. Can I get both the scholarship? Is this help offered to the whole master?
Yeah, so you can get multiple scholarships. So say you have the Cultura loan, we will give you a discount based upon the faculty that you're in, and that will just come off your fees each semester. And then you may be awarded another scholarship from the university or the faculty, and that will just reduce your fees again. So whatever the fee amount is based upon that scholarship, we would then provide the discount on top of that. So The scholarships vary, as I said. So some will be, typically if they're a fee remission, it'll be your whole degree and it will come off each semester. If it's a one-off payment of money, sometimes it's only one-off. So you might just get it at the start and it just comes off your degree, or it might be each year. So it'll be quite clear on your scholarship offer what that is. Any questions like that, you can definitely ask me, but just because you have the Culture alone, it doesn't mean you won't get considered for other university scholarships.
Well, this question is about if am I going to have the answer of the scholarship before starting the course, or do I have to pay the first term and then I'm going to know about the scholarships?
Yeah, good question. So the scholarships I mainly talked about today were commencing scholarships, so for new students. So those ones you would find out before you actually start your program. There are some scholarships through faculties that are for current students, but this is more to do with how you perform once you get into the degree. So if you are getting really good marks and you might be top of your class in a subject in your master's, you may be awarded a kind of grant of money or a one-off scholarship. That's more based upon the grades you get once you're a student. For the commencing scholarships, we're looking at your previous grades, so before you actually became a University of Melbourne student.
I would like to confirm if the IELTS requirement is 6.5 overall and 6 per skill.
Yeah, so with the IELTS, you have to do the academic IELTS. So for most programs, it's 6.5 overall, and then has to be no less than 6 in every band. So you can't have a band that's lower than 6, and then the overall score needs to be 6.5.
Okay. About the transcripts, does the University of Melbourne require paperback documents, or can I scan them and send them?
So you can submit scanned copies online. So that's what we actually want. We want you to upload the documents to our website. They do need to be translated officially into English, and they do need to be certified documents. If you don't have certified documents, you can upload copies of them initially, and then we will eventually require the certified copies from you later on. But for the assessment part, we do need them uploaded online. It needs to show your subject titles and also your grades that you received. And if you are applying for credit or advanced standing, which is where you might get, credit from doing subjects with us based upon your previous study, if you do want to do that, you will need to supply subject syllabus or syllabi. So this is where you would submit subject title and subject descriptions in English from your home university.
Regarding these transcripts, most of the translations are made in Colombia. Do you accept these translations?
Yes, so we do need it to be an official translation. If you do use an education agent, they are able to translate it officially for you. So we do have 3 education agents in Colombia that we work with, and there is also an official translation service through what's called the NAATI organisation, which you can look up online. But if you do have questions about that, feel free to just email me. But if you do go through an education agent, they will be able to do that for you.
Well, Lisette says she was reading in the website comments about the possibility of reducing time with work experience. I have more than 5 years of work experience. How can I demonstrate this experience? I am interested in the Master of Construction.
Sure. So you would need to demonstrate it by submitting your CV. Or resume. So this would detail the type of work experience that you've done. And they do consider different things depending on the type of program that you are applying to. Yeah, it's hard to provide advice without seeing your actual experience. But typically with our master's programs in construction or in the design, typically they're actually 3-year programs. But if you have done previous study in the construction space, and you can show that in your degree transcripts, you would be given 1-year credit. So they would become a 2-year program. And then potentially you may be considered for further credit. So like you said, but it really depends upon the faculty's discretion about that. So that would be up to them. So most students coming into that program will either do a 3 or 2-year option. But if you send me your Lisette, if you send me your resume, I can ask the faculty, so the design school directly, and they can let you know before you actually submit an application.
Lisette also is asking about, should I find an agent to apply, or how can I do it by myself?
Yeah, so that's completely up to you, Lisette. Many of our students do apply through an agent because they can help with your documents. They can submit the application, and they obviously work closely with us, so they know what's expected, and they can help you with a visa as well, which can be quite helpful. But it's not a requirement, so it's not mandatory that you do that. So some students prefer to apply on their own. So you can just submit all your documentation online, and any questions you have, you can just get in touch with me directly, and I'm happy to help you through the process. But I can also send you the agents that we have. If you do want to get in touch with those, I can send them to you. But I'd probably, maybe just email me and I can send you your options. Or if you look on our website, it has them listed as well.
Well, okay, Kim, I think we are done with the questions, so we don't have any more questions. So thank you very much for your participation here in Colfuturo with the presentation about the University of Melbourne and the possibilities the students has, for going to Australia.
Thank you so much for having me, Hugo, and Colfuturo. It's always a pleasure. If, as I said, any students that want to contact me directly, feel free, and I'll send the presentation to Hugo so you can distribute it to the students as well. Thank you. Good luck with all the Colfuturo applications, and have a good evening. Buenas noches in Colombia.
Well, thank you very much. Of course, this video is going to be from Friday. It's going to be on our YouTube channel, so you can consult again this information. And also, if you have any question about the application to Colfuturo, please contact me. Thank you very much for your participation. Bye.
Bye.